I've always been intrigued by the paranormal. It was more of a fascination than anything else. My friends always joked that I was the one who would probably end up buying a cursed object, just to see if it was real. Well, in the end, I did. I had been scrolling through an online marketplace when I saw it, an antique doll. It wasn't anything remarkable, at least not at first glance. Old, worn, with black eyes that seemed a little too glossy, and a faded, fraying dress. The seller described it as rare, and claimed it had once been owned by a family in a small, remote town. It had been passed down for generations, until one day, the family simply vanished. The description added that the doll had been gently used and was in need of a good home. I wasn't sure what drew me to it. Maybe it was the mystery. Maybe it was the thrill of owning something so old, something that had witnessed decades of history. Or maybe I was just looking for something new to add to my growing collection of oddities. I bought it. The delivery was fast. Too fast, actually. Just a few days later, a package arrived at my door. It was larger than expected, wrapped in brown paper and tied with thick string. I could feel my heart race as I carefully cut through the tape. Inside, there was the doll. It was even creepier up close. Its eyes, dark and shiny, seemed to follow me as I set it on the table. The faded pink dress looked out of place in my modern apartment, and a strange smell, almost like something rotting, wafted up from it. I told myself it was just the musty scent of old fabric, but the discomfort it caused was palpable. "All right," I muttered, trying to shake off the weird feeling. "Time to put you on the shelf." I was about to stand when something caught my eye. The doll's eyes weren't just following me. They were moving, just slightly, as if they were blinking. I froze. I blinked, convinced it was my imagination. But no, the doll's eyes were indeed shifting, just enough that I could swear it was conscious. I rubbed my eyes. The doll was still in place, lifeless again. It was nothing. I was just tired. That's what I told myself, at least. I put it on the shelf next to my other antiques and went to bed. The first night, nothing unusual happened. The next day, I woke up to something that immediately made my heart skip a beat. The doll had moved. It wasn't much, just a few inches, but the angle had changed. It was no longer facing forward. It was turned, its head tilted slightly to the left. The first thing I thought was that I had knocked it over during the night, but I quickly ruled that out. I had placed it securely on the shelf. There was no way it could have fallen or shifted by itself. I checked it out, convinced I was simply imagining things. But as I reached to adjust it back, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. There, on the doll's porcelain cheek, was a faint smudge, like a streak from a tear. I recoiled in disbelief. Could it be dust? Or dirt? I muttered under my breath. I wiped it away, but the feeling of unease didn't go away. The doll had definitely moved, and now there was no mistaking it. Something about it felt different, like it wasn't just a simple doll anymore. There was life in those dark eyes. I grabbed my phone and opened the app to search the name of the seller. Catherine's Antiques. It said, with no phone number and no direct way of contacting her. Just a random address. It seemed odd, but I didn't pay it much mind. Over the next few days, the movements became more frequent. It wasn't just that it would turn its head now, and then it started to shift its position. One morning it was sitting upright, and the next it was lying down. But what terrified me most was when I started hearing things. At first, I thought it was my imagination, a creaking sound, faint whispers at the edge of my hearing. It didn't help that I had recently been reading about haunted objects and cursed antiques.